I don't know. Be mad then.
Disney's new show, Primos, has seemingly every Latin American on Twitter steamed. Primos is set to focus on Tata Ramirez Humphrey, a kid who is just buzzed to try out all sorts of cool new things this summer. But unfortunately, a horde of cousins descends on her home, and now she's stuck dealing with all their chaos for the summer instead. A little unoriginal maybe, it's kind of been done before, but harmless, right? Right? What's the big deal with this show then? Let's start with the designs. The show's backgrounds are pretty enough and the intro has fun with them. The effects are pretty good, but the character designs are ugly. Ugly. I'm not a fan of this art style personally, so I recognize I have a bias. With its tombstone teeth, thin lines, giant heads, and dead eyes, but some of these designs are rough. Not helped by the way the characters move, their expressions, and oh no. They gave a 5-year-old a receding hairline and a unibrow. It looks like she's had 2 divorces and 5 kids from 4 different baby mamas. The actual premise of this show has also faced some criticism. There's an argument that the Latino with a big family trope is overdone, and I agree, but I also think it's fine. From what Latino people have been saying around the Primos discourse, dealing with the chaos and mess of a huge family is not an uncommon experience, though feel free to correct me in the comments. Tropes aren't a bad thing in and of themselves, and I think this one in particular has the potential to be cutesy and especially suited for children's shows. Having a big roster of characters for a good narrative reason, like having a huge family and that being the crux of your show, leaves plenty of room for writers experimenting with characters being good foils to each other, conflicts, development, and so on. So far, so good. It's just an ugly looking show. This show is also part of a massive wave of Latin American rep in animation and media at large within the last decade, which is also fine, and Primos is just one more of these. All of that would have just flown under the radar if it weren't for the language issue. Oye Primos, which features in the theme song, is apparently just what you get when you pop Hey Cousins into Google Translate, and Latin American Twitter users have been quick to point out that this isn't correct, in any version of Spanish seemingly. Oye Primo, or Oigan Primos, have been suggested as grammatically correct, viable alternatives. Again, do correct me if wrong, I'm only familiar with Castilian Spanish, so your more educated input is welcome. And even that might have flown under the radar if it weren't for the naming choices. Among our roster of primos, we have Gordita, Nacho, Nachito, and sorry, I mean Cuquita. Gordita is literally just little fatty, and Nacho and Nachito? Really? The food? 2 versions of a stereotypical Mexican fast food, you see no issue with that? Cuquita, though, is the real standout, because it literally refers to female genitalia. They went and named a toddler girl Little Pussy. Now, I initially thought, it's not so offensive, but then I thought, if Americans with Zambian heritage, like 100 years back, made a show unironically trying to rep Zambians as they are now, and they called the characters like Nshima and Chikala, I'd be baffled. Maybe a little irked that they didn't even speak to a single native Zambian for this show supposedly about Zambians, whilst they also claim to be just as Zambian as the people complaining. Because Chikala is perfectly innocent in the Chewa language, for example. So your Google Translate loving American plops that in, sees, "Aw, it means old man, how cute. Let's name the grandpa character that," and moves on. Unfortunately, in Bemba it means as in the male organ, and something playfully mean to call your friends. But all that said, this is actually where I kind of differ from the Twitter discourse around Primos, though. Because although this does sound bad on paper, presented like I just have, which is kind of the arguments used on Twitter, these names are all easily explainable. Well, maybe not Gordita, that's just little fatty. Nacho is a short form of Ignacio, and a common one at that. Nachito is therefore just a diminutive form of that. Could they have come up with another name? Yeah. Did they? No. Is that racist? No. Cuquita is the name pointed to most often as a means of highlighting the creator's ignorance about Latin American culture, especially in tandem with this little Instagram reply from Natasha Klein, the creator. But this also has an innocent root. It's a name derived from the Latin refugio, meaning shelter or refuge. It's a diminutive form of cuca from the same. However, I do still agree that it's on the creator to really check, especially for a kids show, that it doesn't also mean something crass in common discourse. It seems like it's so easy to prevent. You couldn't get away with making a kids show now and calling a cat character or a male character Dick for the same reasons, even if both have completely innocent explanations. It's a PR thing, even if people are named Dick and other such things out in the world. Bear in mind they are still getting their lunch money stolen at playtime for the pleasure. Okay, but you might point out that shows like the Casagrandes have the same premise, show similar stereotypes. Everyone's in chanclas, the family is big and owns a bodega, there's random Spanish sprinkled into some characters' sentences. But why then does this show get hate? Did the goalposts move that quickly now that the Casagrandes in 2019 has remained unscathed, whilst Primos in 2023 is torn to shreds? No. What really killed the show's reputation was the media presence of its staff, specifically the creator Natasha Klein, and especially the main character's voice actress, Myrna Velasco. If we look at the creative brief for this show, Natasha seems to have a lot in common with the protagonist. This is very much part of her mission statement. As she says in the brief, Tata is a beautiful balance of being eccentric and deeply relatable. Some kids will see themselves in her home, whether it's her socioeconomic status, her neighborhood, or having her abuela down the street. Other kids will see they share her journey to discovering what makes her special. And as they connect to this world and journey, they will live vicariously through Tata during her wild, exhilarating, and empowering Summer of Primos. In combination with her response to a comment correcting the phrase Oye Primos, maybe it's just that she's got a partial connection to her Latino roots, being American, hence misspeaking or not picking up on things you might expect her to. A lot of mixed heritage people can probably relate. But then the main character's voice actress jumps in.
The Spanish language is not a Latin American language. It's a language the Spanish conquistadors forced upon Latin American people. The only reason we're Latin people and not Native American people is because of that distinction.
Okay, relevant how?
So be mad at me all you want for misspelling words in Spanish. Be mad at me all you want for mispronouncing words in Spanish. That doesn't take away from the fact that I am a Mexican-American, Native American woman.
So, not relevant at all?
We're trying to make a good show for kids. For kids that feel left out. For kids that are different, for kids who don't have a full grasp on any language, no matter where they live. And if you're going to be mad at that, I don't know. Be mad then.
No full grasp on any language? Is your audience infants? Her argument boils down to, I can't put effort into representing you because colonization. She doesn't have to try to speak Spanish correctly whilst representing a Spanish-speaking population because colonizers introduced Spanish to that populace. You poor fool. So therefore, by her supreme judgment, you shouldn't be speaking Spanish at all. So why bother? It doesn't matter that centuries have passed, and that Mexico and Latin America have developed their own sets of unique cultures since. Oh, no. And if you're mad about her deliberately putting no effort into unironically mimicking you and your culture, you're the weirdo. From her incoherent talking points that nobody asked about to the condescending tone and smug little self-assured smile she gives every new sentence, Velasco has made things infinitely worse. She might have shot herself in the foot here too, because whilst Primos might be salvageable as a show, now everyone's seen this singular voice actress being self-righteous and full of herself for no reason. So what's to say she wouldn't be replaced? It'd be easy enough. That isn't to say I wish that on her, I really don't. I just mean to say that she seems insufferable and has caused the wider Primos team more trouble than she's worth. I just wish she hadn't run her mouth like that. It's got to suck for any talented people actually behind this project that she's now representing them like this. So, what's the issue with Primos? I think it's PR. Twitter has blown up the issues around this show way out of proportion. A bit more thought should have gone into this project, sure, and more thought into how to respond to online backlash in a meaningful way, especially when trying to represent a minority group, because as we've seen, the backlash from not doing that correctly can be quite something. And of course, you can't always control what your staff are going to do, but you can only hope that they share the same mindset as you. Also, things like the shoes up on the wire as well could have used at least a little bit of forethought. It's a bit dark for a kiddie show. I really do believe that Klein wanted to make a show children like her could relate to. There's a lot of her in Tata, and she even got some kids from her target audience audience to comment on what she'd made as part of her pitch to Disney. The backlash to Primos has been completely disproportionate for such a decidedly mid-show. And then Velasco has to come in and set the whole thing ablaze with activist psychobabble. Not helpful. I wish Klein the best, Velasco to grow up, and for this show to become the mid-children's show it was meant to be. However, that being said, if that Si Se Puede animatic that no Bayan posted is anything to go by, this show has some bangers planned. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and leave a comment telling me what you think about this. Subscribe for more commentary on Western animation. Till next time, bye bye!